The discovery that changed everything. The Silent Watchers. Captain Zorath of the Malvian Dominion pressed her six-fingered hand against the cold observation glass. Below her command ship, a small blue-green planet spun quietly in the darkness of space. Earth, the humans called it. A world that should have been conquered 3 cycles ago. Commander, the analysis is complete, her tactical officer Rendal announced, his voice trembling slightly. You need to see this. Zorath turned from the viewing port, her silver eyes narrowing. The Malvian Dominion had ruled this sector of the galaxy for 2,000 years. They had conquered 47 species, absorbed their technologies, and crushed any resistance. The humans should have been easy prey. They were barely spacefaring, still using primitive chemical rockets, and their weapons were laughably outdated. But something had gone wrong. The failed invasion. 3 cycles ago, the Dominion had sent its 5th fleet to Earth. 12 battle cruisers, each capable of destroying a city with a single shot. The invasion should have taken 3 days. Instead, the fleet never returned. At first, command assumed it was a technical malfunction. Perhaps a navigation error or a reactor failure. They sent a reconnaissance team. That team also vanished. Then another. And another. 6 teams, gone without a trace. No distress signals. No wreckage. Nothing. Now Zorath stood here with the 7th Fleet, the largest battle group the Dominion had assembled in 2 centuries. And what she was seeing made no sense. Show me, she commanded. Rendal activated the holographic display. Images flooded the command center. Wreckage. Thousands of pieces of Malvian ships, scattered across Earth's orbit like broken toys. But that wasn't the disturbing part. The impossible defense. They didn't just destroy our ships, Commander, Rendal said quietly. They studied them. Look at this. The hologram shifted, showing human vessels. They were crude, built from what looked like salvaged materials and primitive alloys. But their weapons. Zorath felt her blood run cold. The humans had mounted Malvian plasma cannons onto their ships. They had reverse-engineered Dominion shield technology. In 3 cycles, they had done what should have taken decades. How? Zorath whispered. They don't sleep, Commander. The voice came from Dr. Ninetal, the fleet's xenobiologist. He shuffled forward, his aged body moving slowly. I've been studying their broadcasts, their communications. These humans, they're different from any species we've encountered. He pulled up biological data. Most intelligent species require 8 to 12 hours of rest per cycle. It's universal biology. The brain needs time to process, to heal, to consolidate memories. But humans. He paused, his expression troubled. They only need 6 to 7 hours. Some function on even less. They have a saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead. The human advantage. Zorath stared at the data. An extra 4 hours per cycle didn't sound like much. But multiplied across millions of humans, across 3 cycles, it was like they had lived 4 years while the Dominion had lived 3. There's more, Ninetal continued. They have something they call adrenaline. A chemical their bodies produce under stress. It allows them to ignore pain, to push past their physical limits. They can stay awake for days during emergencies. They can work through injuries that would incapacitate our soldiers. And they never, ever stop learning. Rendal added another image to the display. This is a human military facility. They call it Area 51. After our first fleet arrived, they moved all the wreckage there. Within 10 days, they understood our propulsion systems. Within 20, they had built prototype weapons. Within 30, they had a defense network that destroyed our 2nd fleet before it could even land. Zorath felt something she hadn't experienced in her 40 years of military service, fear. The pattern emerges. Pull up the records of all our previous conquests, she ordered. Show me the timeline from first contact to complete subjugation. The data appeared. Species after species, world after world. The pattern was always the same. The Dominion arrived with overwhelming force. The local population panicked, scattered, and fell within weeks. Even the most advanced civilizations couldn't organize an effective defense before it was too late. But humans. They didn't panic, Zorath said slowly, understanding dawning. They got angry. Ninetale nodded. Human psychology is unique. When threatened, most species experience paralyzing fear. Humans experience rage. They have a word for it, spite. They will endure any hardship, suffer any loss, just to strike back at their enemy. And they never forget. The hologram showed human news broadcasts from the first attack. Zorath had expected to see chaos, fear, and surrender. Instead, she saw something terrifying, unity. Within hours of the first Malvian ship appearing, every human nation had set aside their differences. Their leaders spoke as one. Their factories retooled for war production. Their scientists shared research without hesitation. They have another saying, Ninetale added quietly. Don't mess with Earth. It's both a warning and a promise. The turning point. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the planet, the communications officer announced. They're hailing us. On screen. A human appeared in the hologram. Female, middle-aged, wearing a military uniform. Her dark eyes held no fear, only cold determination. I am General Sarah Martinez of the United Earth Defense Force, she said in perfect Malvian. They had learned the Dominion's language. Of course they had. You have 60 seconds to turn your fleet around and lead this system. If you do not comply, we will destroy you. Rendval laughed nervously. Commander, they're bluffing. Their technology is still inferior. We have 300 warships. They have perhaps 50. But Zorath wasn't laughing. She was watching the human general's face. There was no bluff there. Only certainty. Show me their defensive positions, she ordered. The tactical display lit up. Earth was surrounded by satellites. Thousands of them. Each one armed with weapons built from captured Malvian technology. The moon had been converted into a massive military base. Mars showed signs of recent colonization and fortification. And around every human ship, Zorath could see the telltale energy signatures of Dominion shields. In 3 cycles, the humans had built what it took the Malvian Dominion 3 centuries to create. The terrible realization. 30 seconds, General Martinez said calmly. Zorath thought of the 6 fleets that had come before her. 6 fleets that had underestimated these humans. 6 fleets that had believed superior technology and numbers guaranteed victory. 6 fleets that had learned, too late, that humans didn't fight like other species. They didn't fight to survive. They fought to win. And they never, ever stopped. Helm, Zorath said quietly. Reverse course. Full retreat. Commander? Rendval stared at her in disbelief. We outnumber them 6-1. Zorath met his gaze. And they're expecting us. They've had 3 cycles to prepare. They've studied our tactics, our weapons, and our weaknesses. They haven't slept. They haven't stopped working. And they're angry. She turned back to the view screen, where Earth hung like a blue jewel wrapped in weapons. We don't retreat because we're afraid of losing this battle, Rendval. We retreat because if we fight, we'll start a war we cannot possibly win. The price of arrogance. The Council's fury. The Dominion High Council chamber erupted in chaos. 12 species representatives, each one a conqueror in their own right, shouted over each other in a cacophony of languages. At the center of it all stood Captain Zorath, alone, facing their rage. Coward! Supreme Counselor Thaxron roared, his 4 massive arms slamming against the stone table. You had 300 warships. The most powerful fleet ever assembled. And you fled from a species that still burns fossil fuels. Zorath kept her voice steady. With respect, Counselor, The humans no longer burn only fossil fuels. They've mastered fusion reactors using our own captured technology. They've weaponized concepts we haven't even researched. And they did it in less time than it takes most species to organize a planetary government. Excuses. Counselor Vexith hissed, her serpentine form coiling in agitation. For 2,000 years, the Dominion has never retreated. Never. And now you've made us look weak before a primitive species that should be mining minerals for us. Primitive? Zorath pulled out a data crystal and inserted it into the chamber's display system. Watch this. The human resistance. The hologram showed footage from the Fifth Fleet's final moments. A Malvian battle cruiser, pride of the Dominion Navy, facing off against 3 human vessels that looked like they'd been assembled in someone's garage. The engagement should have been over in seconds. Instead, the humans scattered. Not in retreat, but in a coordinated pattern the Dominion's tactical computers couldn't predict. They moved erratically, unpredictably, using debris fields and Earth's magnetic field to mask their movements. Then they struck. The first human ship kamikaze dove into the battle cruiser's port side, detonating its reactor at point-blank range. The shields held, but the explosion blinded the sensors. The second ship fired modified mining lasers, crude but effective, at the exact spot the first ship had weakened. The third ship did something the Dominion had never seen before. It broadcast music. What is that noise? Counselor Drexic demanded. They call it heavy metal, Zorath explained. A form of human music. Aggressive, loud, and specifically designed to inspire rage. They broadcast it on all frequencies during combat. It disrupts communications, and more importantly, it tells you something about human psychology. She paused. They fight better when they're angry. Most species fight better when calm. Humans are the opposite. The hologram showed the battle cruiser's destruction. 1,200 Malvian crew members, gone in moments. But the cameras caught something else. As the human ships retreated, they transmitted a message. Just 2 words, repeated endlessly. Remember us. The intelligence failure. Dr. Ninetal stepped forward, his elderly frame hunched but his mind still sharp. Counselors, I've spent the last 3 cycles studying every fragment of human culture we could obtain. I believe I understand why we failed. Enlighten us, Doctor, Thaxron growled. We assumed humans were like every other species we've conquered. We thought they would follow the same patterns: panic, disorganization, eventual surrender. But humans aren't like us. They're persistence predators. The term meant nothing to most of the council. Ninetal continued, on Earth, most predators hunt by speed or strength. They chase prey for minutes, maybe an hour. If they fail, they give up and find easier targets. But humans' ancestors hunted differently. They would track an animal for days. The prey would run, rest, run again. But the humans never stopped. They just kept walking. Hour after hour, day after day, until their prey literally collapsed from exhaustion. Then the humans would catch up and take what they wanted. He pulled up genetic data. This hunting method shaped their entire biology and psychology. Humans don't have the fastest reflexes. They don't have the strongest muscles. But they have endurance. They have spite. And most dangerous of all, they have memory. The turning tide. Memory? Vexith scoffed. All species have memory. Not like this. Ninetal showed footage of human war memorials. Humans remember every defeat. Every lost battle. Every fallen soldier. They build monuments to their failures. They teach their children about their losses. And they use that memory as fuel for revenge that can last generations. He showed more data, human history, war after war, conflict after conflict. They have a saying, forgive but never forget. They will negotiate peace, they will shake hands with their enemies, they will even trade and cooperate. But they never truly forget who wronged them. And they never forgive certain things. Like invasion, Zorath added quietly. Like attempting to enslave their entire species. The council fell silent. Thaxron's expression shifted from rage to something approaching concern. What are you saying, Doctor? The terrible truth. I'm saying we made a critical error, Ninetale replied. Every species we've conquered, we broke their spirit in the first attack. We demonstrated overwhelming force, and they surrendered to preserve their lives. But humans. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Humans have a concept they call liberty or death. They mean it literally. They would rather die as a species than live as slaves. He showed more footage. Human cities burning under Malvian bombardment. Instead of surrendering, the humans evacuated to underground bunkers and kept fighting. Their factories kept producing weapons. Their scientists kept working. Their soldiers kept training. And every civilian who survived became a potential resistance fighter. In our first attack, we killed 2 million humans, Ninetale said softly. We thought that would break them. Instead, it gave them 2 million reasons to hate us. 2 million names they'll never forget. 2 million martyrs whose memories will fuel human rage for centuries. How long? Counselor Drexic asked. How long will they pursue vengeance? Ninetale met his gaze. There's a human conflict called World War II. It ended over 80 years ago by their calendar. They still hunt down the war criminals from that conflict. They still teach their children about the atrocities committed. They still say never again and mean it. So to answer your question, forever. Humans will pursue vengeance forever. The fleet that came home. Zorath activated another display. 3 days after I retreated, I sent stealth drones back to monitor Earth. What I saw confirmed my decision. The hologram showed Earth's orbital space. Where there had been 50 human ships, there were now 200. New construction continued on the Moon. Mars showed signs of rapid military industrialization. And around Jupiter, something massive was being built. What is that? Thaxron demanded. We don't know, Zorath admitted. But based on its energy signature and size, I believe it's a weapon. Something the humans are building specifically to strike back at us. They're not content with defense anymore, counselors. They're preparing for offense. Let them come, Vexith hissed. We have 1,000 worlds. Millions of ships. They have one planet. For now, Ninetale said. But humans don't think in terms of now. They think in terms of eventually. They plan for generations. They work toward goals their grandchildren might achieve. And they never, ever give up. He showed the council something that made even Thaxron's eyes widen, human children in schools, learning Malvian language and tactics. Human engineers reverse engineering Dominion technology. Human strategists studying every recorded battle the Dominion had ever fought. They're not preparing to survive us, counselors, Ninetale said quietly. They're preparing to destroy us. The decision. The council chamber fell silent. For 2,000 years, the Malvian Dominion had expanded without significant resistance. They had grown comfortable, arrogant even. But now they faced something they'd never encountered, a species that refused to be conquered and had the intelligence and determination to fight back. What do you recommend, Captain? Thaxron finally asked. Zorath took a deep breath. Peace. Immediate withdrawal from Earth's system. A formal apology and reparations for our attacks. And a non-aggression treaty that we actually honor. Reparations? Vexith spat. We don't pay tribute to primitives. They're not primitives anymore, Zorath said firmly. We made them our equals the moment we attacked them. They've studied our technology, learned our tactics, and united their entire species against us. In 3 cycles, they've accomplished what took us 3 centuries. Imagine what they'll do with 10 cycles. Or 100. She let that sink in. We can either make peace now, while we still have something to negotiate with, or we can fight a war that will cost us everything. Because humans don't stop. They don't surrender. They don't forget. And sooner or later, they'll make us pay for every life we took. The warning. Supreme Counselor Thaxron looked at each council member in turn. He saw fear in their eyes. Good. Fear meant they understood. Draft the peace treaty, he ordered. Full withdrawal. Reparations. And a formal apology. He turned to Zorath. You'll deliver it personally. Me, Counselor? You're the one who had the wisdom to retreat. The humans respect wisdom. Maybe they'll listen to you. Thaxron's expression hardened. And Captain? Make sure they understand something. This isn't surrender. This is acknowledgement. We acknowledge that humans are not a species to be conquered. They're a species to be respected. Zorath bowed. Understood, Counselor. As she left the council chamber, Dr. Ninetal fell into step beside her. Do you think they'll accept peace? He asked quietly. Zorath thought of General Martinez's cold eyes. Of the 2 million human deaths. Of the monuments and memorials and the burning desire for justice she'd seen in every human broadcast. I don't know, she admitted. But I know what happens if they don't. They'll keep building. Keep learning. Keep growing stronger. And one day, maybe not this year or next, but someday, they'll come for us. And when they do. She looked up at the stars. They won't stop until the Malvian Dominion is just a memory. Ninetal nodded slowly. They truly are the most dangerous species we've ever encountered. No, Doctor, Zorath corrected quietly. They're the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever seen. Because they combine intelligence with endurance, creativity with spite, and ambition with an absolutely terrifying refusal to accept defeat. She smiled grimly. We picked the wrong planet to invade.